How much do you need to retire? Well, the answer to that question is going to be specific to your situation. It's going to depend on a number of factors. Those factors could include things like how much do you want to spend in retirement? Where is your retirement savings located? RSP, TFSA, non-registered account? What's your tax liability on your retirement savings? It's also going to depend on factors like what are your investment fees? What's your asset allocation? It'll depend on factors like do you have a spouse? Do you have CPP and old age security, and how much are you receiving? All of these factors, including your age, is going to have a really big impact on your retirement plan. Now in this video, we're going to take a look at a case study. We're going to look at a case study with 1.3 million in financial assets, and we're going to see if they can retire and reach their retirement spending goal. Now we're going to use the Adviice platform to optimize this retirement plan, but first, let's get familiar with who we're working with and what this base scenario looks like. So let's start in the discovery phase here. Let's take a look at the income section. Now, if you want to build your own retirement plan, you can use the Adviice platform to do so. We're going to walk through it here, but you can do this on your own. And there are instructional videos to help you walk through each phase of the planning process. Now let's take a look at Meghan and Juan's situation. So they're 61, they want to retire at 65. So they're going to be working from 61 till 64. We can see their income here, including bonus for Juan. In terms of expenses, let's take a look at what they're aiming for. So at the moment, they're spending about $120,000 a year. This looks like it includes a little bit of a mortgage as well, so that should go away when they hit retirement. We've got some go-go years here, $82,000, $83,000 a year. We've got some slow-go years, about $70,000, $71,000 a year. And if we take a look here, that goes all the way until the end of retirement. So we've got 2 retirement spending phases, but we could also add a third if we wanted to in the future. So we've got $83,000 a year going down to about $71,000 a year. Now their cash flow looks good. All the details are there. We can see they've itemized their expenses very carefully. This is important because retirement spending is one of the bigger factors in a retirement plan. So we want to have a really good idea of, is this the right level of retirement spending? So we go back here, we can see that they're aiming to spend about $7,000 a month and about $6,000 a month later in retirement. Now their financial assets right now they're around $1 million. So they've got RSP RIF balance and a TFSA balance, but no non-registered balance whatsoever. They've got a home here. They've got a little bit of TFSA and RSP contribution room, but for the most part, they've been maxing that out every year. So a good amount of financial assets. In terms of debt, we've got the principal residence mortgage. Looks like it's almost done, $38,000 left, 4.5%. We've got a home equity line of credit, but there's no balance there. So no balance on the home equity line of credit. Insurance, we're not so worried about, but when we look at tax and benefits, let's take a look here. So we've got 47 years in Canada, and we've got all of our contributions here for CPP as well. So if we go down to the bottom, we can see all their CPP contributions. Now let's take a look at the foundation phase. Specifically, let's start with CPP and OAS estimate. So the platform is doing a dynamic estimate here for us. It includes CPP enhancement. So we can see that when they retire at 65, around $13,000 a year for Meghan, a little bit higher for Juan, maybe due to past contributions. They'll both get the maximum old age security benefit. So if they start all these benefits at age 65, they'll get about $44,000 a year. So that's $44,000 out of that sort of $80,000, $70,000, $80,000 spending goal. Now let's take a look at their investment plan as well. So here they're getting an average return of 3.4%. So we can already see here that's due to the investment fees that they're paying. This is important. This will have a big factor on their retirement plan. 2% fees on $1 million means they're paying $20,000 a year in investment fees. It's got to be their highest expense in retirement. So this is a factor that we're going to want to look at when we do their retirement plan. We'll see if there's a way to decrease those fees. Now, those fees are only going to go up as well. So once they reach retirement, they'll have about 1.3 million in financial assets. That means that there's going to be $26,000 of fees every year based on a 2% investment fee. That's a really big retirement expense. Overall, there's 60-40 asset allocation, so 60% in equities, 40% in fixed income. That's a fairly balanced retirement portfolio. It's a good place to start for a retirement plan. Now let's take a look at their projection. So let's take a look at where they are at the moment. We'll just walk through the charts here. So we've got 4 more years of employment income here. Then we've got some registered withdrawals. We've got spending here. So they've got 2 more years of debt payments. Then they've got their savings and investment contributions that go up in those final 2 years before retirement. we can see here that they're spending that 83,000 a year, going down to 71,000 a year later in retirement. So we've got our two spending phases. That's fairly clear. And then in terms of net worth, so they will peak at financial assets about 1.2, 1.3 million. And it looks like they're going to draw that down fairly steadily over time. They've got about 200,000 left over at age 95 and a fairly healthy estate value due to their principal residence. Now their success rate isn't great. It's 66%. And this is just due to their high level of spending relative to their financial assets, and also due to the fact that they've got those higher investment fees. So they're drawing about $50,000 from the portfolio, but their portfolio has fairly high fees. So even though it's 1.2, 1.3 million, they've got fairly high fees on their investment portfolio. Now let's make a copy of this plan and let's see if we can do a little bit to optimize this scenario. So let's make a copy here. We're going to call this optimized, and we're just going to explore some of the AI strategies to see what might be popping out in terms of options. So the AI strategies are exploring different retirement decumulation strategies for us. So we want to help Juan and Meghan optimize their retirement plan. It looks like the platform is saying that delaying CPP could be a good option. If we look right now, their estate value is 1.163 million. Just delaying old age, or CPP in this case, just delaying CPP is going to add quite a bit to their overall estate value. So let's start with that. Now, delaying CPP and old age security can be very attractive if you have a longer and healthier life expectancy, a longer and healthier retirement. And it can also be attractive if you have higher investment fees. So I'm not surprised that the platform is highlighting this with a conservative portfolio and higher investment fees. Delaying CPP and OAS and getting that guaranteed income later in retirement can be very attractive. So now we're up to 1.276 when we add this strategy to the plan. So if we see here now they've delayed CPP all the way until age 70. This decreases the draw on the investment portfolio, but it does decrease their investment assets a little bit faster in earlier retirement. Success rate's now quite a bit better. We're now up to 80% success rate and estate value over $100,000 higher from where we started. Now there's some other options here. Decumulation order, that might be around some government benefits, but let's take a look at old age security. So again, this looks attractive partially because, again, they have higher investment fees. So with a long and healthy retirement, these two might be attractive as well, especially given their investment fees. So now overall success rate's 86%. They're getting a large percentage of their investments. Their retirement spending is coming from their CPP and old age security, not their investments later in retirement. So provides a lot of security later on in retirement. But the other thing we can do is, again, we can look at their investment fees. So here we've got, again, about 1.3 million in financial assets, and we want to see what this does in terms of growth if we were to change the investment fees. So the last thing I'm going to go do is go to advanced options here. We're going to take a look at the portfolio, and we're going to just change these investment fees from 2% down to 1%. And we're just going to see what that does for the overall retirement plan. So let's save that. Let's take a look here. So we were at 1.3 million in estate value, and our success rate was 86%. And now we're at 100% success rate and 1.6 million in estate value. So a significant difference just by changing investment fees from 2% to 1%. And remember, they've got 1.3 million of financial assets here. So they definitely have options in terms of reducing their investment fees. Okay, so we've done a good job in optimizing their base plan, but now we've got a lot of financial assets left over. We've got a very high success rate. So let's see what we can do to help increase spending for Meghan and Juan in retirement. Remember, their base or their core retirement spending is $83,000 a year in early retirement and about $71,000 a year in late retirement. But let's see if we can add some spending to their plan now that we've optimized their net worth. So let's call this plus extra spending, and this might decrease their success rate. We're going to use the AI strategies here. We're going to rank on lifetime spending. We see that it's already looking at increased spending scenarios for us. we can see how the success rate drops off with extra spending, and even a 79% success rate is still very high. So I think Meghan and Juan could easily add somewhere between $6,000 and $12,000 a year in retirement spending. There is a fairly quick drop off there, so let's go for an extra $6,000 a year in retirement spending. That seems to be fairly safe, at least as a base assumption. They could even push that higher. Now, there will be some scenarios where they run out of money in later retirement. So we can see here that if they face some poor investment returns in early retirement, if they have a bad sequence of investment returns, we definitely would have to reduce that extra $6,000 back to their core level of retirement spending. But remember, we know that that core level has a 100% success rate. So we already have a very strong core base retirement plan. What we're doing here is we're just trying to optimize and help Meghan and Juan spend more in that early retirement phase. Perfect. Now this plan looks good, but we've delayed CPP and old age security. So what happens if, let's say, there was a shorter life expectancy? So let's make a copy of this plan and let's see what happens if there's a shorter life expectancy, perhaps for Juan. So maybe Juan's health isn't quite as good. So let's look at a survivor scenario. So let's add a survivor scenario to this plan, and we're going to re-rank on the area and strategy, and we're going to find these survivor scenarios. So let's go down here and take a look. We've got RSP meltdown, survivor scenarios. So right now we've got an age 95 life expectancy for both. But let's see what happens if Juan were to pass away at 75. And already we can see there will be an impact to the plan. We're probably losing that CPP and old age security. So let's take a look at this benefit here and how everything changes, how the benefits change. So here we can see a reduction in Canada Pension Plan. We can see a big reduction in old age security, probably partially due to these larger registered withdrawals. So definitely an impact to the plan. We can see that there's going to be a shortfall for Meghan later on in retirement. We can see that there's definitely going to be a need to tap into home equity if that were the case. And success rate is definitely not as good in this scenario. Now, let's take a look. We did add that extra spending, but let's see what else we can do in terms of optimizing the plan. So let's re-rank by estate value, and perhaps let's take a look at CPP and OAS first. So let's maybe look at Juan's CPP and OAS timing, because now with a shorter life expectancy, we might see something different. So for Juan, we can see that in fact, the earlier we start old age security, the higher the overall net worth. So this is one of the factors with old age security, is that it only really makes sense to delay if you have a very long and healthy retirement. So in fact, we might want to start these benefits a little bit earlier for Juan, especially if that's a risk. So let's do that here. So it's going to push those benefits a little bit earlier. And now let's take a look at CPP as well. So let's see if there's a factor there. So we had it at age 70. We can see that $700,000 net worth. You can see how quickly that climbs with the shorter life expectancy if Juan were to start CPP earlier. So maybe we choose age 65, but we could even go earlier. If we know that Juan has a potential for the shorter life expectancy, we might go as early as age 61 when they retire or at their current age, or we might do it when they retire at 65. So it looks like 63 could be a good option. 64, 65 are close. Let's just do it when they retire. Let's say age 65, and we can always push this out if we want to. So here net worth a little bit better, but still a bit of a shortfall. So we're going to look at one additional option, which is to reduce retirement spending in that survivor scenario. So we've got some extra spending here that we added in the previous option, but at age 75, when Juan passes away, we want to maybe reduce spending in the year after. So let's take out maybe $20,000 a year, and let's do that until the end of the plan, and let's see if that helps their retirement plan here. And that definitely looks a little bit better for Meghan. So now we're at a 70% success rate. So in a survivor scenario, we have to reduce that retirement spending from about $88,000, $89,000 down to about $68,000, $69,000. So we already know if they have a long and healthy retirement, definitely looks like they can spend about $86,000 or $88,000, $89,000 a year. If there's a shorter life expectancy, we want to maybe start some of those benefits a little bit earlier. And if they do have a survivor scenario, we know that we need to decrease spending. So can Meghan and Juan retire? They definitely can. They want to look at certain things like CPP and OAS timing. They want to look at reducing their investment fees. They definitely want to pay close attention to spending because, as we saw, they can't go too high or they will run out of money in earlier retirement. But overall, their retirement plan looks quite good. So with 1.3 million in financial assets, spending about 88 to 89,000 a year seems quite realistic. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love it if you like and subscribe. If you want to create your own retirement plan, please sign up for the Adviice platform, the video instructions, and there's a community for support. And we'd love to help you create your first retirement plan if you haven't created one already. Thanks again for watching.